Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our press conference. Today, Mr. Verhofstadt on the European Council meeting and on Poland, and Mrs. Gesine Meissner, who is our transport coordinator, and she will give our position on the German car toll system, the Pkw-Maut. Mr. Verhofstadt, you have the floor.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeroen. Well, it's the last European Council meeting of 2016, and I think that it's not difficult to say that it was a very difficult year for the European Union, with all the crises we're facing: migration crisis, economic crisis, the Brexit decision, the terrorist attacks, and so on. So what I hope is that in this last meeting, the European Council, preparing the new year 2017, could have strong conclusions on the way forward with the European Union. And I have to tell you that the first draft I have seen was not very convincing. It are, again, very general remarks, but no clear plans for the future. Personally, I think that the Council should tackle at least four specific issues. First of all, European Defence Union. Not only backing the proposals of the European Commission, but also for the first time indicating how we can integrate the different bilateral and regional cooperations we have today in Europe. We have an inflation of military cooperation inside the European Union, but not in a defence union. It are all bilateral or regional cooperations. There is Nordefco, there is the Benelux, there is Visegrad, there is the Baltic Defence Cooperation, there are the bilateral agreements between France and Germany, between France and Italy, between Germany and the Netherlands, and so on and so on. And so what could be a breakthrough for the European Defence Union is a decision by the Council that these regional and bilateral cooperations will be incorporated together with the Eurocorps in a new structure under the title European Defence Union. The second thing what I hope is that on migration, the European Council is putting more emphasis, is concentrating more on having a new European asylum and migration system in place, rather than to continue with, we're going to solve it with deals with individual countries, North African countries. I think that more important is that Europe concludes its reform of the asylum and migration package the fastest as possible. The different proposals are on the table. What we need now is to conclude on this new asylum system, new migration system, and so on. My third wish is that I hope the European Council could deal with the ongoing tragedy and disaster in Syria. And I don't think what we don't need is our big words in the conclusions. What we need is a new attitude from the European Council, saying, well, look, there are three things that we desperately need to do, and if it will be the Iranians or it will be Russians or not make that possible, we need to think about sanctions again. And what are these three things? I think a ceasefire urgently, a humanitarian access to eastern Aleppo urgently, and a return to the negotiation table of all parties urgently. That's the three things we need. So I think what the Council could do is putting these 3 points on the table and say ceasefire, entrance of the humanitarian aid in eastern Aleppo, and return to the negotiation table. And those who are not willing this, who are blocking this, well, they risk sanctions. If we don't do that, nothing will happen. And we will continue to see this disaster in Aleppo. Finally, on Turkey, I hope that the Council who will talk about this will take stock of the opinion of the European Parliament, who in the last, as you know, plenary session has approved a clear appeal to freeze the negotiations, and I think that is absolutely necessary if we see the ongoing criminalization of hundreds of people, journalists, members of parliament in Turkey. So that are my 4 points. If this council wanted to make the difference with previous councils, I think that could be the 4 key decisions that we need to take. Then a last point before giving the floor to Gesine on the PKW Maut is concerning the debate on Poland. Yesterday we decided that we do the debate on Wednesday and not on Tuesday. And why? Because we commemorate today the 35th anniversary, if you could call it, since the imposition of the martial law in communist Poland, and we thought that better to have a debate on Poland, we have to remember that day in Poland. And we're going to have this debate tomorrow. The reason for the debate is also very clear. We have still the recommendations of the Commission where the Polish government doesn't respond to. We have still other new worrying developments. For example, a law restricting the freedom of assembly in Poland. So for us it's clear that tomorrow on this we will have a whole debate, and especially on the question what to do if Polish government is not following the recommendations of the Commission. Is it then necessary to launch the procedure of Article 7, and who is doing it? Can be the Commission, can be the Parliament, can even be a number of member states. So in the Council. So that brings me to the German car toll system, the PKW Maut, if I pronounce it well, Gesine, where the Commission has taken the decision to put on hold an infringement procedure, and we think that that is maybe not the best way forward to avoid the discriminatory character of the proposal.
Yeah, absolutely right. Thank you very much. Well, actually, the case is that the European Commission, or the Commissioner responsible, Commissioner Bulc, is looking for a toll system that could be in place everywhere in Europe, and the German Maut, that what she thought could be a blueprint for that. But she always said it must be non-discriminatory. It must really be in line with the treaty, with the Lisbon Treaty and TFEU. And actually, Germany already had a proposal, I think you know about that, on the 8th of June last year. And that meant that all the toll that is paid by German car users should be reimbursed by a tax. And that's, of course, against European law. That's why we started an infringement procedure, not we. The Commission really started an infringement procedure, and later on in September, the Commission refers Germany to Court of Justice. And now the answer is still not there, and it was absolutely surprising for us that now, on the 1st of December, actually it was proposed from Commissioner Bulc, but it seems to be that it was really a Juncker deal with Germany to have put on hold the infringement procedure, although this must really be answered, I think. Germany obviously changed a little bit the reimbursement. Now it's not directly via tax and one-to-one. It's now via environmentally friendliness of cars, but that means right now that German car users who have environmentally friendly cars, what of course is something we want, could have even could really be the winner out of the whole system, because whatever they had to pay as a toll system, they would be reimbursed by a higher payback via tax, so to say. And so it seems to be that it's a crazy deal. It seems to be that it's a political deal that's really not in accordance with our principle. And of course, we are looking for a toll system. It should be fair, but it should be really in line with the European law, and that's something that obviously is not the case. And we know that Netherlands and Austria, several countries already, neighboring countries, are thinking about having a court case against Germany. And we want really that the Commission has to reassess its approval, because in our eyes it's not right. And last sentence, it's not transparent. It's not obvious why Juncker had to deal with that. He's not the responsible commissioner. He's the head of the commission, of course. But the commissioner obviously was not really herself involved. And that's another case that's not fair.
So until it is not clear that the proposal is not discriminatory, we think that we have to go forward with the infringement procedure. And there is no reason to stop it in the middle of the process.
We have time for a couple of questions. Who would like to ask a question? So you, the man behind you first, and then after you, it's Jurek.
Oui, bonjour, Pascal Nzens d'Agence Europe. Ma question est plutôt pour Madame Meissner. Sur le PKV Maut, il y avait un débat qui avait été proposé par certains députés durant cette session plénière. Est-ce que vous savez pourquoi ce débat n'a pas été retenu au final? Voilà, point de... Ah.
Actually, could you please repeat your question? I should have...
Okay. Oh, sorry, I'm going to repeat it in English.
Okay.
Sorry. No, my question is regarding the PKV Maut. Last week, I think a delegation of MEPs asked to add this point to the agenda for this plenary session, and I was wondering why it has not been, in fact, added to the agenda this week.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, I understood well. Well, it was a debate within the coordinators of the Transport Committee, and actually we wanted to have it on the agenda this week, but it was not agreed with all the political groups. That's why we decided to have an agreement to put it on the agenda on February. Beginning of February in the mini plenary session. It will be debated then, but we always have a good procedure that everybody, all the coordinators should be in line, and they said it was not according to our rules, internal rules, to have it that quickly on the agenda. Besides, the agenda really seemed to be absolutely full, so it will be raised on February.
And that's the reason why we put it here. C'est la raison pourquoi on le mentionne ici dans la conférence de presse, parce que nous pensons qu'il faut le traiter le plus vite possible. Et donc qu'on ne peut pas accepter que, même si c'est un grand pays, donc je ne discute pas, les règles doivent être les mêmes pour tout le monde. Donc s'il y a une proposition sur la table qui est discriminatoire, la Commission doit le bloquer. Voilà. Pas commencer à dire oui, bon, ils vont le changer un petit peu, peut-être ça va résoudre le problème. Non. Justement, la Commission, en continuant cette procédure, peut augmenter la pression sur les États membres de bien appliquer le principe de la non-discrimination.
If I may add, maybe, actually that's something that's why we wanted to make it urgent, because really for us it's not transparent, it's not understandable that the infringement case is put on hold, because if you can't just ask the Court of Justice to clarify something and then just to interrupt it because maybe some negotiations went on. It's not logical for us, and that's why we wanted to have clarification on that and to know what kind of role Juncker played. Well, it's maybe obvious, but it's not the way European taxpayers would have liked it, I think.
Jurek.
Merci, Jurek Couchet, juste ce soir. Deux questions, si possible. La première sur le Conseil et sur la Syrie. Vous dites que vous souhaitez qu'il y ait plus que des mots. Dans ce que vous avez suggéré sur la Syrie, il y a aussi des mots, mais il y en a un qui, par contre, qui est lourd, c'est celui de sanctions. Or, aujourd'hui, on a un peu l'impression, dans le monde, je pense aux États-Unis, mais aussi en Europe, on voit Fillon, l'Italie, etc., que le vent, on se demande si le vent est un petit peu en train de tourner en faveur de Vladimir Poutine et de la Russie Russie, c'est-à-dire en faveur de positions plus molles vis-à-vis de la Russie. Est-ce que vous avez une crainte sérieuse qu'effectivement ce ramollissement, je dirais, de l'attitude, en l'occurrence européenne, à l'égard de la Russie est sérieux, ou vous pensez qu'on reste assez fort? Et deuxième question sur le sujet que vous n'avez pas évoqué, la présidence du Parlement, si possible. Les deux grandes familles semblent, même si l'une va seulement choisir son candidat ce soir, semblent déterminées à aller jusqu'au bout du combat. C'est en tout cas ce que M. Pittella nous a démontré avec beaucoup de vivacité tout à l'heure. Vous n'êtes pas encore décidé si vous allez présenter un candidat, en l'occurrence vous. La question, c'est comment vous pourrez peser sur ce choix-ci, comme les deux grands partis pour l'instant semblent indiquer, ils veulent aller à la lutte finale, ou ça se décidera peut-être au troisième tour au nombre de votes en plénière. Merci.
Oui, pour commencer, la deuxième question. Donc, nous, on va décider dans les prochains jours. Et donc, dès qu'il y a une décision qui a été prise sur ma candidature, on va naturellement l'annoncer. Et deuxièmement, sur cette même question, il n'y a ni l'un ni l'autre qui a une majorité dans ce Parlement. Donc voilà, c'est très clair. Et on doit avoir une majorité au Parlement pour élire un président. Ce n'est pas une majorité relative, c'est une majorité absolue qu'il faut au Parlement. Sur la première question, ouais, je crois que c'est maintenant depuis 2-3 ans, en fait, qu'on est en train de tourner autour du pot, de nier l'évidence. L'évidence, c'est que, certainement à Aleppo, il y a 3 choses à faire, dont j'ai parlé dans mon introduction. Et je crois que la seule possibilité de l'avoir, c'est que si l'Europe, si possible avec les Américains, disent voilà, maintenant on va se mettre autour de la table, il y a un cessez-le-feu qui est déclaré le plus vite possible et les convois humanitaires peuvent entrer en Aleppo. C'est ça les 3 choses à faire. Et je trouve ça totalement inexplicable qu'aujourd'hui on n'est même pas capable de dire voilà, si ces 3 éléments ne sont pas remplis, alors ceux qui bloquent ça, soit au sein des Nations Unies, soit dans les négociations qui sont en cours, bon, on va prendre des sanctions. On les a pris envers le régime d'Assad, ça a été fait. Rien n'interdit d'élargir ces sanctions vers les 2 autres qui, pour le moment, bloquent en fait ce cessez-le-feu, cette entrée des convois en Aleppo. Et donc, là, je crois que je fais un appel, je vais le faire demain dans le débat, mais je fais un appel direct aussi, parce qu'elle ne sera pas là, à Federica Mogherini, de prendre la tête de cela, donc de le présenter au Conseil européen. Pourquoi on a un service d'action extérieure si on ne peut pas enfin prendre une initiative dans un cas pareil? Parce qu'on peut dire, oui, mais les États, ils n'ont pas la même opinion, etc. Oui, ils n'ont pas la même opinion, ça, c'est évident. 28 États sur n'importe quelle question internationale n'ont jamais la même opinion. D'où la nécessité que c'est au niveau européen, c'est au niveau du Conseil européen, et plus spécifiquement au niveau de Mme Mogherini qu'il faut prendre une initiative. Et donc pour moi, ce sera, enfin j'espère que ce sera un des points clés du débat de demain. Plutôt que de encore une fois répéter le projet de conclusion que vous avez déjà vu aussi, et en fait qui ne font pas un pas en avant dans aucun des dossiers.
Gentleman with the red tie.
Conor McMorrow from RTE in Dublin. Apologies. Mr. Verhofstadt, I have a question about Brexit. Brexit poses a huge challenge for Ireland, both the Republic and Northern Ireland. Ahead of the 2017 Brexit negotiations, do you recognise the special nature of UK-Irish relations?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's difficult to deny that there is a special relationship and there is a special problem, not only economically but also politically. because a return to a hard border between Northern Ireland and the rest of the Irish Republic would be politically a big problem and also economically a disaster. So I have already seen representatives of the North Irish government, and it's clear that it is a specific problem that we have to manage well in these negotiations, and because the baddest thing what can happen is that we return in history, and that we return to violence because of this.
Okay. Thank you for coming. We have to stop here because the EPP is waiting for us. That is not a problem.